All right. Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming.
Very good intro.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Jess does wonderful stuff. I'm telling you, she's very talented. Um, the what
Very.
incarnation is this? Hey, trees, and everybody else coming in. We'll talk for a minute here and give people time to join the stream. There's a couple other streams going on, so it may take a minute, but that's okay.
Yeah, no, it's
Anyway,
not a problem, man. I'm doing the same thing myself. We're just chilling, hanging out. You know what I mean?
yeah. So today, TJ Yao, is that the right
Yeah,
pronunciation?
TJ, yeah, you got it. First time,
Okay.
dude. Everyone usually says, you know what I mean, yo or ya. So you did good.
Well, to give a little background, and I'll let you tell about yourself, but just to give a little background of what we're doing here and why this is taking place. So Ember started a new channel and did a 24-hour stream, and at the conclusion of that 24-hour stream had me on for an interview. And TJ showed up in the chat and at first had mentioned debating certain topics or whatever, and through the course of the conversation, I think you kind of understood that it didn't necessarily have to be a debate, but like, we can just talk about things, and I think a debate limits us to what we can really discuss, and there may be need for the conversation to go in multiple directions.
Yes.
And I think that works better for everybody. And having Jess here to moderate in case things get get out of hand or whatever, I think will be beneficial to us. But
Right.
TJ, I'll let you introduce yourself and tell about your channel and all that, and then we'll get back into it.
Okay, so I'm TJ from TJ Tells the Truth, Truthful Ministries. I actually was born and raised in an atheist secular household. I didn't even think about God until I was like 15, and that's because my dad, he started going to church, and he used to think they were all hypocrites and stuff like that. And then he got invited to a church that actually preached the right thing and walked the right walk, and it changed his mind because he saw the evidence of it in their lives. And so, but anyways, I had a bad relationship, went awry. 15 years later, I'm fully drug addicted, on heroin, this and that. And it wasn't until probably, 6 years after being clean that I found God and Jesus. And now I got called to start a channel, and I've just been preaching the word.
Right on. Well, I posted TJ's link and stuff there while he was talking, but it's also in the title of this video, and in the description of the video is a link that'll take you to his channel too. So if you want to go over there and check out what TJ's got going on, by all means, go and be nice. So I guess, the thing that I say a lot, and I'm going to hold myself to it here, is that I've heard the arguments for people's justification of believing in a God and things, and I get it. I used to I was raised in a Christian household, quite the opposite, and was actually a believing young Earth creationist until my 20s, and that's a whole story, but and we can get into the details of that if necessary. But my thing is that I like to talk to people about what precisely it is that they believe and kind of why. And what I mean is, because Christianity has 40,000 denominations,
Right.
and even within those denominations, it may be different from church to church or even person to person, and it seems to me that the definition of what somebody calls God and what they believe in changes. And I'm not saying that makes it not true or any less true. There's other things we can get into later, but
right.
I just like to make sure that we establish what we're talking about, because a Catholic is very different from a Mormon, right? I mean,
Yes.
and both of those are different from a Southern Baptist. So, what, like, would you say that you subscribe to like young Earth creationism, or okay? So I'll let you explain a little bit about what, how you would categorize it, just so people understand where you're coming from.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys ever watched Give Me an Answer with Cliff Connectley and Stuart Connectley. I have views that are very in line with them. I so if there's science that shows certain evidence, I believe that evidence, right? I'm not going to say that the universe isn't 13.8 plus billion years old. You know what I mean? Because we can't see farther than that. There's like a certain limit because of the speed of light and the way it works and stuff like that. And so it's like there's a certain sphere of area that we can only see. But so I believe in that, and I don't believe in like macro evolution, but I believe in micro evolution. So I believe in the same evolution that you guys believe in, that occurs and takes place. But I don't believe in abiogenesis. But if I do believe in that, I believe that a god made life from nothing. You know what I mean? So I don't believe a human could do it. Just like I don't think a human could create like a sun or stars in the sky or anything like that either.
Yeah.
But I'm like an early Christian. If I had to classify myself, I would classify myself as an early Christian. I'm not Protestant. I'm not Catholic. I'm not Orthodox. I follow Jesus, his teachings. I pledge my life to him. I separate myself from the secular world, and missionary work is really big to me, and sharing the gospel. So it's like I completely had to let my old life die, and I got a new one in him. So that's most Christians are not like this.
No, I
So
agree. That's
yeah.
not common, and I can appreciate the fact that, like I said, I feel like it's mostly, even if somebody tells me they're a Southern Baptist, I would have to ask the specifics of what does that mean, and all that, because it's easier really just having you explain what it is you think about the world and stuff, without all that. And um, so I I know that I definitely will have some questions and things, but
Right.
I know that you actually kind of approached me in chat, and there was, so is there something about, me being an atheist that is confusing, or that you want to ask about, or?
So when I saw you, it just amazed me because it's like the way that your mind works and the thing and thinks, and like the way that like I could tell that you're like trying to like piece together the way the universe is sort of like, working. You understand that you don't understand all the things, but you understand that a certain amount to make like an assumption or a guess on like what's going on in the universe. So it's like my question is to you though is like you haven't seen any evidence for God like in your personal life or anything. You never had anything like something that happened to you that you really couldn't quite explain, or like synchronicity in life, that happened, that where it's like, wow, these things just can't be coincidence.
So, well, I mean, that my pushback to the actual question would be that something that I can't explain is just that, something that I can't explain. Then ascribing some kind of cause or meaning to it would be making a leap for something that's just not supported. And I get that that's not what religion is about. I understand faith doesn't really require evidence; it's the belief in things not seen. Um,
Yes, yeah, of course.
the So for me, it comes down to just to really, it's a very simple idea: is that there is a claim that any number of gods exist, depending on the religion, and then even within the denominations of that religion. And that claim, to me, I find completely unconvincing, and I don't see, especially with like Christianity, the source for Christianity is the Bible. That's it. That
Yeah.
there's no other really credible source for any of it. And the to me, I find that a completely unconvincing reason to believe in a God. And then, furthermore, I feel like the actions that the Christian God undertakes within the Bible are clearly written by primitives that didn't understand a whole lot about the world at the time, and that much of what that God does throughout the Old Testament is evil, and
Right.
that the 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 descriptions of God are contradictory. The descriptions of hell or Sheol, as it is in the Old Testament, is not what Christianity says it is. The There's a lot of problems that I find with it.
Sorry,
On
just
top
wanted
of
to
it not
quickly
being
interrupt you there,
convincing,
Joe.
I
Hate
find
to
it
interrupt.
convincing that
Sorry.
it may not be true.
TJ, you don't have any sound on your channel right now?
Oh, I don't.
You don't?
Oh, not at all.
No.
Oh.
Sorry about that, Joe. I didn't mean to cut you off.
I appreciate you telling me that.
Yeah, no worries. I'll go back into my little hobbit hole.
Thank you. I'm gonna reload it.
Okay.
Hopefully that works. Yeah, no, it's good. I appreciate you telling me that. So basically, I honestly felt the same way as you. I really did. And to be honest, there's a lot of things that I thought, in ways that I felt in positions that I took before that I thought I agreed with. But then once God gave me the wisdom and the knowledge, and it's wisdom that can only come from Him, and then I sort of understood why certain things just had to take place. Like, so in Israel, there was a 400-year period in the book of Judges where, God was sending them kings and rulers. And these rulers, King Asa being one of the first ones, the righteous one, he was actually like a man that was obedient to God. The reason why they called him a good king was because he was obedient to God. But anyways, this is what happens. The people follow the king. But then when the king dies, the empire or whatever it is starts to crumble and fall, and the people starts to like turn away from God. So they start seeking false gods like the ones that you were mentioning. And the thing is, it's not that those false gods don't exist, it's that they're not gods, they're fallen angels. And they got sent to earth, and then they started all these religions all over the place. I mean, why do you think there's pyramids, all over each continent? You know what I mean? It's like the same design. In order for them to be able to have the similar designs at similar time periods, right? You would have to have someone that came from that sort of design. So
can we
go ahead?
Just so we don't get so many things because I'll forget to address the earlier things.
Yeah, I'll stay on topic. I'm sorry about that.
So, first of all, I would have to ask, does Scripture support that those other gods aren't gods and that they're fallen angels? Or is that just kind of something that you've deduced from your own understanding of it?
I mean, it's something that so when they mention the fallen angels and stuff like that, you know what I mean? They mention that they come in the form of like they cloak themselves, and it's deception, it's lies, it's everything else. So they describe the spirit, the sort of spirit that exists in the world that isn't God. And there's three evil spirits. They're called the unholy trinity.
Sure.
And so there's the Jezebel, there's the Baal, and then there's Leviathan. And each one of those different things, and Leviathan could also be, Satan. So each one of those different things, they worship different things. Satan's power, Baal is money, Jezebel is sex. Look at the world, dude. There's so much sexuality.
So
people chasing money. Rap music brags about all those three things.
So, okay, but if you're going to, you've decided that well, and maybe it's not you've decided, you accept this idea that those things are metaphors for these other things.
Yeah, and they give you discernment to understand what is what. And the thing is, God doesn't even want to give credit to those false gods as being angels anymore
Yeah.
because they fell. He doesn't like, you know what I mean? That's like
Well,
you say,
well, we haven't made it. We haven't made it there yet. We haven't established that there's even. So hold on. Let me ask another question here
yeah,
because
go
that's
for it.
where I'm going with it. Um, the so I would say that first of all that interpretation is fine. I mean, as far as we're interpreting a religious text, but that isn't the interpretation that most would take of that, and it's not certainly not the consensus. But so my question would be is how do you decide like what parts you're taking literally and what parts you're interpreting and how you're interpreting them that way, like what mechanism are you using to get to that interpretation of it rather than to just understand it some other way?
Exegesis. So what you do is you look at the historical context and then you also look at what those people believed. So what I'm saying right now, they will say, "Oh, Nephilim spirits, they don't exist. It's the sons of Seth and Canaan." Okay, but the sons of God, which is the term that's used in the Bible, right? That they put in that area that they ascribe the sons of Seth and Canaan to. Well, everywhere else it's used in the Bible, it's used to describe angels. It's used to describe creations of God. You know what I mean? So
Right.
when I look at the historical context and what the ancient Jews believed, so the ancient Jews believed that the Nephilim spirits, they lived in Sheol because, and it even says this in the Bible that their souls cannot inhabit heaven nor hell because hell is made for angels and heaven is made for human souls and God and the regular angels of the heavenly host. So their soul is such an abomination that it literally can. It's like going to recycle bin,
Well,
right? So a
but
recycle bin, it can't be sorted,
but
so
the
they're
Old
forced to
Testament
possess people.
doesn't mention hell. It mentions Sheol.
Sheol, yes.
But you've said that hell and Sheol are separate things.
Yes, they are.
Okay, so the thing that I'm getting at here is that I understand that you're interpreting this that way, and you're telling me like why it is you do that, but I don't think that. I mean, again, it's if it the Bible is the source and it is the claim, right? It's the claim
Right.
of these things. So whenever you look at it that way, though, like to read other things into it that it's not saying, and also just to push back about the angels thing, the fallen angels thing. I mean, one of the 10 Commandments is no other gods before me.
Yeah,
So
of course.
God was acknowledging that there were other gods, or how could you have one before him?
Well, that's exactly what he was referring to with like the fallen angels, essentially. Because he said, "You shall have no other gods before me," not because he acknowledges the fact that other gods necessarily exist in the same capacity that he does, but because we made those things exist in the same capacity that he does. Just like women that I've been with, that I've dated, that I literally made my entire world. All my time was spent on them, all my money was spent on them, all my energy thinking was spent on them, taking care of them, their kids, their family. And the thing is, God didn't like that, man. He was really upset with me for that, and I paid for it. I had a
What?
terrible relationship where I was just miserable all the time.
So how do you know that God was upset with you and that you weren't just feeling some sort of way about it?
Well, I didn't know at that time. I didn't actually learn that he was upset until I actually gave my life to God, surrendered, and actually accepted the Holy Spirit inside of me fully. Because the Holy Spirit is what gives me the answers. And the thing is, it actually guides me to websites and evidence too. Like it sends me archaeological evidence. It sends me manuscripts that I look up, ancient manuscripts that I look at the text, and then I look up the original definition. It's sort of like, so like with Genesis, God goes into, okay, the 7 days of creation, right? But those days are metaphorical, and I understand it's very difficult for people to accept something, like, because in our human world, right, something's either metaphorical or it's literal. It's rarely ever both. And in some instance with the Bible, sometimes it's both literal and metaphorical. Sometimes it's just metaphorical. Sometimes it's just literal. And then so here's an example. Day 1, God created light, but then day 2, God created the sky. So the sky, the original Hebrew word shayim, um, it actually means like the heavens, and it means heavens. So he's talking about space. So he's literally talking about day 1 is the Big Bang. Day 2 is, the creation of time and space. And then day 3, you know what I mean? Then those gases and all that stuff cool down, the earth, the sea, the vegetation. My light just blinked because God was agreeing. And then God created the sun, the moon, the animal. So the order is the same. And it literally said the flying animals and the sea creatures were created before the land animals. And if you research, that's truth. Flying insects related to mayflies were existed before there was land mammals.
Yeah, but they're so.
Someone changed the text. Someone changed day 2 to mean the firmament, and that's what caused the whole rift for people. Because think about it, who could have predicted how the universe was created? We didn't understand how the universe was created until what? This century, last century,
Well,
in the
I don't
1900s?
think that it explains that though. I think that you're taking now the knowledge that we have about how the universe was probably created, and
Right.
then you're applying it to the text post hoc. So I feel like that's not so. Instead of, because I don't want to do it that way. I don't want to say like that's a bad way to arrive at things or whatever, but like the so that's why I tried to stick
You
with
think
the.
I'm seeing Jesus? See, that's the term. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Not, well, I mean, I think that the term is that I use, and it's my favorite term, is post hoc rationalization when talking about
That's very smart. Yeah.
religion. The taking, the world that we see now and then trying to explain it through the words in the Bible, and I think that is, you know, it's not a good way to arrive at conclusions. Um, the God of the Bible is clearly capable of revealing himself in any number of ways, or however, but instead the method ends up being post hoc rationalization, which is fallacious. The Doesn't mean it's wrong, just not a good way of logic, which maybe God doesn't fit into logic.
No, and that's exactly right. So here's the thing. God respects people that ask questions. He respects people that seek truth. Like, he wants that and he likes it. But the reason he just doesn't outright reveal himself is because then it's no longer a choice. Then it's no longer really belief. Because if he proves that he's existing and that he's there, well, then it's obviously not belief anymore. It's rejection. You get what I mean? Like,
Why
so,
why
so
did
it's like if you have a girlfriend that cheats on you, right? If you don't see it, well, then it's just a belief that she might have cheated on you. But if she's doing it right in front of you, right? Well, that's no longer a belief. It's either you accept it or not. And then it's forced upon you to accept that information. And God wants it to be out of love. He wants you to be seeking him so truly that he is your number one in your life always. And I understand that's a very difficult thing for many people to grasp and understand, but it's the most beautiful reward in your life. My best friend is God. My father's God. My director's God. My caretaker's God. He's everything, man.
so the 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 problem I have, though, and it goes back to the original thing that I said, is that there are these multiple interpretations of that, and yours seems to be based on what we see in the world today and the knowledge that we have now. Um, the So if we're to accept that, then the views of any number of other Christians are all just not. I mean, they're believing what the Bible says, but that's incorrect. And I mean, maybe it's I just don't understand how you get there, because first of all, you make some claims about, well, this means that and this means that. It doesn't say that, so we have no way to come to that decision. And from somebody who's looking at the Bible from an undecided point of view, they have no other way to take it than at its word. And it's supposed to be the inspired word of God, yet if you read it at its word, it will lead you to all kinds of falsehoods and contradictions and things that just don't work. Historical falsehoods it's full of those. So it can't be both ways, right? Like it can't be that God wants you to love him so much that he explained things in such a way that it makes no sense. That doesn't seem to be, that would be counterproductive to what God's goal is.
Actually, you just proved my point. If you read the Bible as just a book, you will never learn nothing. You will never learn any truth. You will never see the truth. You will never experience the truth. You literally have to have your heart fully open, fully ready to believe, fully ready to accept. And I'm telling you, dude, it's like you get an Einstein eureka moment when you read the Bible. And that now, because, dude, I used to try to read the Bible when I was a teenager. I didn't understand it either, dude. It made no sense to me. I said, look at all these contradictions, look at all these things and this and that. And then I didn't realize there wasn't contradictions. It was my mind was too small to understand. And I needed the Holy Spirit to actually give me that discernment and that wisdom to be able to break those things down. So, yes, God designed it in a way that you need to be nurturing that part of you that he put inside of you that is of him.
Well, there are logical contradictions, though, is what I mean when I say
yes.
And there are contradictions. There are contradictions to history within it. The Exodus never happened. A worldwide flood never happened. Even a local flood isn't really supported.
Have you ever heard of the Rishot? There's actually this guy, and he talks about the Rishot, the eye of the Sahara, and how, there was actually like giant waves. He says, look at these waves, look at the way the sand is pulled back and it's curved and everything else. There's like only water does that. He's like, there's no way that's wind, because it was like massive amounts of like earth.
But so we understand that
where
now.
They would think Atlantis might be, you know what I mean? And this guy's not necessarily. Have you ever heard of Bright Insight? That's who talks about this.
Right, but we understand that wind does do that now.
Not to that extreme level, though. I mean, they were literally carving out, all the different pathways and stuff. And then you have like Graham Hancock, and I know a lot of people make fun of him, but the Younger Dryas, dude, I believe there was a massive global change during that period. And I do believe that, you know what I mean? A lot of these events, these cataclysmic events that are described in the Bible, man, they have taken place. I really believe that, because the evidence is around us. Look, even at Göbekli Tepe. Göbekli Tepe, they were supposed to finish excavation in 2060. Now they just pushed it back, like 100, 200 years, because guess what? They found out that each of the totem poles that they were digging were telling the story of Noah in the Bible. So they stopped doing it because they didn't want people to know the truth.
That's not true. First of all,
look it up. I just look it up.
Well,
guys.
I mean, that's okay. So there are people that say that, but that's not what the scientists doing the work claim, and
Well, they say
that's
they're
not what the
protecting
government
it.
claims.
Well, they say they're protecting Göbekli Tepe, and yet they put
Yes,
these structures up around it that don't block the sun. It doesn't block the rain. The ice gets in, it expands. They want it destroyed. They want
they
all the
actually
evidence to
did
go
though.
away.
They put coverings up to to protect it. They did put coverings up, and they planted trees on top of a bunch of it
Yeah.
to keep erosion from washing it away. Was
I
the
know they did
idea?
that part. Yeah, you
I
are
think
right
it was
about
a
that.
bad
Yeah.
choice too. I mean, I think they should definitely. I think whenever it comes down to the historical value of what humans were doing at the time is more um, is more valuable than leaving it there. They claim that they have plans to unearth it over the next like 60 years or something. Um, the but they it seems to me, and this is because so far every topic that we've covered is you have this like, well, I believe this thing, and that's fine. I mean, it's your belief. You're convinced that this other thing is true,
I
and
just follow the evidence, man.
well, I know you call it that, but that's not really what it is because it's evidence. Evidence it doesn't like. Okay, you can call it evidence, I guess, but it's poor evidence of anything
Well,
other
like
than
if ancient people, like ancient Jews, believed in demonic possession. I mean, a third of Jesus's ministry was exorcism. So that deals with the supernatural, and the church wanted to get rid of
that
it.
doesn't make it accurate though, is the
You're
problem.
saying just because he talked about a third of his ministry being, or do a third of his ministry actually just being, done in exorcism, you're saying that
No,
doesn't
I'm
mean necessarily the exorcism took place and was real. That's what you're
oh
saying.
no, I would go further
Yeah.
than that and say just because the Bible claims that Jesus did anything doesn't mean that you even have historical support for that person walking the earth.
Right.
But that those are all things that you have to make the leap and to believe based on faith, and that's cool. It's your belief. You're the one that lives with that belief and stuff. I'm trying to find these conversations to explain why it is that because I was convinced some of these things were true at one time, and
Right.
why it is that other people find them convincing. And I'm not trying to talk you out of them. I'm trying to just get you to work your way through it from my point of view, right? So it's not that I'm saying you're absolutely wrong about the Göbekli Tepe thing. I am going to say you were wrong about, but the uh, the other stuff though. I mean, it seems to me though like it's you sticking your belief in places and then saying, well, it's evidence because my belief matches the story I read, and I can get that from the story, and it's true. You can come to that conclusion, but it doesn't mean that it's supported by any evidence that points to that conclusion or any good logical reason for accepting that as true. And I mean, if I was to ask you how sure you are that this is the order of events or this is the correct interpretation, your answer would be like on a percentage, like 1 to 100.
Um, I'd probably say 99.9.
Yeah. See,
Yeah.
and I kind of expected that.
God, you want to know something? I didn't give you the number.
Okay. It was going
God,
to be 100,
God
right?
just told me to say that number. And you want to know? You want to know why he told me to make it 99.9? Because there's always that part of a human that's always in disbelief.
So God wanted you to
Even
deceive me.
Christians are in disbelief, bro. They are.
God
They have
wanted you to
moments.
deceive me, is what you're claiming.
What?
God wanted you to deceive me.
No, God is telling you that it's 100% true, but because of me being a flawed human, it can only be 99.9. That is the
That
most biblical thing ever.
truth isn't dependent on whether you're human or a God exists.
Well,
Truth
if you
is
were talking about my belief on a percentage scale, but here's the thing: as a human, humans can never 100% fully believe anything.
Yeah.
because they're
So
always in constant doubt because of this flesh. It's this
it,
fleshly body that keeps us in doubt. Dude, it produces cortisol, all these anxiety hormones, and all these other physical processes that will change your line of thinking. You know what I
but
mean?
why? Those things are explained within evolution, though.
Yeah, no, exactly, 100%. But that's exactly what happens because, well, think about it. There wouldn't be that faith element. There wouldn't be, because if someone 100% knows something, right? And it's confirmed in front of them, right? It's not really anything too big. But when someone bets on something and they're unsure of it and then it comes through, well, that's one of the hugest things ever. But here's the thing, there are records of Jesus and stuff outside of the Bible. I don't know if you how much you believe in Roman historians, but Suetonius was a Roman historian who wrote during the early imperial era of like the Roman Empire. This is like
Yeah.
121 AD. He wrote about how the Jews started a riot at the instigation of Christus during the reign of Claudius. And then there's Tacitus in 109 AD. He mentions the death of Jesus and how a superstition took hold that he was raised from the dead. So all these reports about how he was raised from the dead, or whether it was a
Yeah,
lie or
but
whether it was real, were also around too. So,
there
you know what I
there
mean?
there is a lot of question about the validity of some of those, and especially like Tacitus.
Yeah,
The
Tacitus is a little sketchy to some people.
but the so I mean,
Oh, my light bulb's blinking. God damn
I
it.
guess the thing is that an all-powerful God could have done it any way, right? Could have made the world and humans and our thinking and all the things you mentioned, could have done it any other way. And the the choice was to make it in such a way that none of it seems to be true, so that you have to believe it anyway, because God wants
He
what?
wants you at 11 instead of a 10 with your love for him. He can't just have you believe, like, okay, yeah, you're God. I know you exist. That's cool. No, he needs you on fire for him. Like the same way that you would be madly in love with a woman that you would call the love of your life.
Right, the
That's the same
lukewarm,
exact relationship that God desires with us.
the
And that is
lukewarm
why
faith.
he designed it the way he designed it, because you truly have to be seeking him 100% with all your heart in order to find
And
him. And
my
that's why they
question
say,
is,
seek and you
why
shall
should we
find.
be seeking Him?
I'm sorry, what was that?
My question is, why should we be seeking Him?
Because listen, you never wanted like a good relationship. You never wanted like a relationship where that person is always there to love you, always there to give you support, always there to give you guidance, always there to hold your hand during the hardest times and celebrate with you during the best ones.
Well,
That's what Christianity is about. It's just God is a father. He wanted a family. That is why he created us. And I know
but
atheists, they're like, why would you create people just to worship me? That's like he's selfish. He just wants people to worship him. It's like the same way we desire to want kids, like the same way humans desire to want kids. It's the same way he desires it. He wants family, man. He wants to share his love. That love
so
comes from God.
here's the thing, though. Regardless of what I want, as far as those things are concerned, I would say it would be unhealthy for me to imagine that within something that I've created to fulfill those things within myself. I would say that that is a not healthy way to think about it. Um, the and second, like, if God wants you to seek Him out and you are seeking Him out, then why still at that point can God not confirm that that he exists? I mean, you say that God told you things a minute ago. Did God like say those actual words, like you audibly hear them, or they just pop into
It's
your
not
head and
it's
you
it's
stop
not
it?
audible. It's like telepathy. It's divine inspiration. That's what they call it, prophetic word. But
Yeah.
it's so I didn't want to say this on your show, but I'm a prophet. But anyway, Yeah.
Well, they're not going to just let that go.
Yeah, I don't want to open up that can of worms because it's just like,
Right, because I'm going to ask you to support it with something, and you're not going to.
Yeah, exactly. What I will tell is every Christian that is watching, use your Holy Spirit, because it will tell you.
But then why is it that I'm looking for actual answers here of why I should be convinced of this?
Because there's a part of your heart that is hardened, because it's not only those who have open eyes and open ears, but those who have tender hearts.
But I think that's you pretending to know things you don't know.
No, it says that in the Bible that we must have tender
hearts. But why
hearts
should I believe the Bible? That's the whole question.
Because it's literally an instruction manual on how to have a relationship with God.
Okay, so let's start with the Bible then.
Yeah.
So from the very beginning,
how-to manual.
From the very beginning, and it's metaphorical or whatever. First, in the first book of the Bible, God kills everyone on earth except for 8 people. At least that's the story that God wants you to believe. That's the story he tells. Because, and then we go next. God comes up with 10 commandments. Thou shalt not kill people. 2 pages later, kill everyone that lives around you. Then God tells people how to treat their slaves.
But what were those people doing?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't justify it. It doesn't justify that.
That's on your own wisdom. And listen, I believe the same thing, dude. I said, listen, they're kids. It doesn't matter whatnot. But then I realized he was doing them a mercy. Because think about this, right? Have you ever had friends that were on opiates that were into and died? Okay. So hang there with me, right? So you have friends, you see them, they're in this addiction, and they're basically killing themselves, killing their lives. And then maybe one of them is so screwed up, they sold their baby for drugs, right? So God, being the loving God that he is, he gave those people hundreds of years, sometimes thousands in certain cases, of grace, gave them time to turn back from their evil ways and turn back to him. But they were hurting themselves, they were hurting each other. So he said, enough. Instead of hurting each other, I'm just going to end it.
God never reveals himself.
So it's sort of like God saying, hey, I'm going to...
God never gives those people a chance.
Yeah,
at all. How so?
After the Israelites, listen, after the Israelites were originally given the land. Then they got kicked out. Then the Canaanites and all this other stuff, they moved in, took their stuff. You know what I mean? Now it's their land. So during the time that the Jews were in Exodus to Egypt, the Canaanites and the Amorites and the Hittites and whatever, the Levites, they all had the land of milk and honey. They had it good. So God gave them so much time. He sent down prophets. He sent down people to talk to them and warn them. And
you know what he didn't do?
They stoned them to death and killed them.
Do you know what God didn't do? Because he's down there talking to everybody at the time. He doesn't tell these people, I'm God and you shouldn't do those things.
No, he doesn't.
That's simple. He tells the Israelites that because they're his chosen people.
Yes, he does. Yes. But because they were the stewards.
So how is it that he tells the Israelites this, and also the whole story of the Bible is that they don't obey either, multiple times over.
That's why they send Jesus, and even the Old Testament prophesizes, Isaiah 53 prophesizes about Jesus Christ. It says, the suffering servant who carried the weight of our sins. Like, who else? It's talking about the lamb. Like, who else was the suffering servant that got put on a cross? Was pierced. They literally pierced for our transgressions. Like, so it's
what if
Old
I can
Testament
explain
predicted
that story?
Jesus in the future.
What if I can explain all of that?
Go ahead. I'm interested.
Okay. So, and this is supported by some biblical scholars too. So the suffering servant is a prophecy that later, whenever the Bible is written, that the Jesus character has to fulfill certain things in order to be the Christ, the Messiah. That character is required to do certain things. And at one time, that was what the suffering servant thing was the belief that they had of how it was supposed to go. Now, the Jews will tell you, and if Christianity is true, Judaism is required to be true. So if the Jews will tell you that that is a misinterpretation and a mistranslation of that story, and that the way that it's told in the New Testament is very obviously them just
You think they
self-fulfilling the
shoehorned it
prophecy.
in? You think they like took some things
Well,
here and there
I
and
mean, who
sort of like,
wrote
oh, the
the
nice little neat package. This looks good. Yeah.
who wrote the books of the Bible, and when?
Well, Moses wrote the first couple
No,
books,
no,
and
no.
then
I
you
mean
had
the
the
New
old.
Testament.
Oh, the New Testament. Well, you have the Synoptic Gospels. What isn't it assumed that Mark wrote Mark, Matthew wrote Matthew? You know,
No, no, it's not. Um, it's assumed that those books that Mark came first and was based on something else, and then Matthew is based on Mark, and Luke is based on those, and then John goes in a totally different direction because it's much later. But the surviving text that we have of the Bible are the Greek writings from the Bible, which they would have been written in Aramaic, right? We don't have any of those surviving Aramaic texts, which this is the most important document on earth. They didn't bother to preserve it. So that's kind of questionable to me, as somebody who's skeptical about these things.
what about the
And
Greek manuscripts? They were also written in Greek at that time. Greek
that's
was the
I said the
language of
Greek
the world because
manuscripts.
of the
Who wrote
Greek
those?
Empire.
Who wrote the Greek manuscripts? I'll go ahead and tell you if you want. We
I'm kind
don't
of
know. We don't know who wrote any of them.
Well, a scribe honestly probably wrote it, but that's not
Well,
really important who wrote it. I think
it
this is
isn't.
what happened. Scribes were told to write a certain thing down, right? And they were told to copy it. So I believe that, that the people that were claimed to write these books, right? The people that Christians claim to write these books, I believe they wrote them, but I also believe that scribes copied them, because you're not going to have the people that are teaching this stuff or telling this stuff writing thousands and thousands of books. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It's like if you're an
So
author, you're going to make
just a
someone else
second.
print the book,
Just a second. Just because I want to address it as we go.
Yeah,
But
no, I was done with my point.
yeah,
You're
I'm
good.
not trying to interrupt you. I promise,
No,
TJ.
you're good. I was already done, man.
I
You're good.
appreciate you coming here to talk to me, because a lot of theists, a lot of Christians won't do this, and so I appreciate you taking your time to do it. So I'm
Oh
not
man, I
trying
know
to
my
be.
God's real and everything else, and I just want people to see, listen, even if they have questions in their mind, I want them to know and see that, they could see the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit lives in me, and then that truth will be
Okay.
known to them. That's all.
Okay.
I
So
appreciate
so
talking to you. It's having a
so
conversation.
so we have some scraps of paper from Aramaic writings that seem to that. But I mean, I'm talking like scraps of paper, like one or two words here and there, and so to then say that therefore these Greek writings are a direct copy of some earlier writing is a leap. And furthermore, whenever linguists look at this, it's clear that some of the things written in Greek don't translate from Aramaic to that. Like there isn't a translation for that. So were these scribes given free reign to add in and to exaggerate and all that? I mean, some people point to yes. Bart Ehrman would be one of note that says that there seems to be things that were added at that time. So we have no reason to trust that as a historical source.
Well, here's the thing, dude. So God, all right, I'm going to tell you how God works, bro. So God, he created free will, right? So God created free will, but his word is also sovereign. But here's the other thing. When we're talking about God's word, we're not specifically talking about punctuation or somebody using the Son of God 3 times instead of 4 times, or that Blessed Mother Mary was used 2 times instead of 4 times, and whatnot. The main message of all those things were left intact, and we're left untainted because God would not allow
You
it
don't
to
know
be.
that.
I know for a fact, but that's only because I'm a Christian. God would not allow it to be
Well, that's
tainted
not
in that
knowing for a
way.
fact. That's believing for a not fact.
Well, he gives you sort of he gives you sort of what do they call it when you have some sort of creative control? I guess creative control. He gives them a little bit of creative control, but they can't divert from the message. It's just they allow the Holy Spirit to guide them. So he allows the Holy Spirit creative control. And sometimes when people got the Spirit, they're a little more excited in some areas, or they focus on one thing more than another. But that's because the Spirit is guiding them, and it's not going to make logical sense because spiritual doesn't mix with logical.
Well, why
So
do
it's like,
you have access to this information and I don't?
because of the Holy Spirit, dude. I only got access to this information 3 months ago. To be honest, to be real with you, bro, I was a Christian that didn't understand how a relationship with God could be. And I didn't understand how the truth and stuff could be revealed. I was completely living in the dark. But I had to be willing.
What happened 3 months ago?
I had an angel visit me, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah.
Somebody made it through. All right, so you're a man of logic and science, right? Tell me how somebody makes it up 2 floors through 2 locked doors, deadbolts, and there's only one entrance, which is downstairs, so they have to go up 3 flights of steps. Tell me how they get inside the house without someone letting them in.
I mean,
and they didn't come up the balcony or nothing.
I don't.
That's exact. See, I needed something like that too, brother. You're not alone. I needed physical. My name is Thomas. He was a doubter. He was famous for doubting because he had a twin. It means twin. That's what the name Thomas means. So there's these 2 people inside of him fighting. The one that has full belief in God and the one that has full disbelief in God. And it's a fight to the end. And just like the disciple Thomas, he had to have a supernatural, event happen. And that's what I had to have happen. If you want me to be honest, dude, I literally had an angel come down. What he did, and this is how I knew it was an angel afterwards, because he literally guessed so he had me confess my sins, right? So I started confessing my sins, and he's like, "What about masturbation and the girl that you just slept with 2 nights ago?" And he literally described the girl, named her, and everything else. And like, I didn't think anything of it at the time. And then like, I was like, "Mom," I said, "that guy you let in, he acted really weird." And like the first thing he said to me was, "I'm a minister of the Lord for Jesus Christ." And he wouldn't name a church he was from or anything. He's like, "Oh, I'm with the main church."
Is it possible? Is it possible that those things happen without divine intervention?
I mean, bro, my mom is crippled and bedridden, and there was no way she went downstairs and unlocked the door. I thought she had my sister or something leave the door unlocked from the night before. So I didn't question why there was a guy inside my house. But my mom's literally bedridden. She can't move, dude. Like, she's 70 years old. She's like, you know what I mean? She drank herself to death pretty much. So that's a different story. But he was there. He was an actual real person. And here's the other thing. We called the company, the cleaning company that we thought he was from. And they said, he doesn't work for us. He said, we never even heard of him. And that blew our minds too. And then my mom never had another guy from the cleaning company ever come again.
Yeah.
So it was really weird, dude. I needed a supernatural event. And I kept gaslighting myself into like, there's no way this is real. And then like,
well, I think you gaslit yourself the other way.
No, I didn't, dude. I had to fight it. Well,
there's any possible number that there's all kinds of explanations that don't require divine intervention, right? I mean, like you think that that's what happened, and cool, but
I'm still trying to figure out how he made it on a second floor without someone letting him in, because I came out of the bathroom and he's like
maybe
there.
They did. Maybe he didn't need let in. Maybe you're mistaken about that.
No, I mean, dude, there's no one else that lives with us though. It's just me and my mom, and my mom.
I mean, clearly you weren't in your best thinking that day, and maybe you're ascribing things to it that just weren't so.
I literally just was jerking off in the shower, bro. And somehow he knew about it, and I wasn't like making noises and being loud and stuff. I'm not sorry for using that stuff on your channel.
I don't care that you said it.
You know what I mean? And he guessed it, bro. He literally, and it's not a guess when he knows. And then I felt this weight, because I've had prayer done for me before, I've had deliverance done for me before, and this just felt different. I felt everything leave me. I
Right,
felt changed.
but it feeling different, you having a feeling does
Well, I
not
didn't think it
equate.
was an angel then. I came to this conclusion logically later, like a month later.
Let me tell you a story about my experience, TJ, of
Absolutely.
a supernatural experience that I thought was supernatural. So I was in jail. I've been to jail a number of times. I've been locked up for. I've got rap sheet many pages long. Um, the I was in jail and I was reading the Bible on my top bunk in my lockdown cell. My bunkie was on the bottom bunk reading his book, and I was reading the Bible somewhere in the Old Testament. I want to say I was in like Judges or Deuteronomy, one of the two, somewhere in that area of the Bible, and I fell asleep. Well, at the time I didn't think I fell asleep, but then I heard God telling me these things are true and real. I wasn't even questioning that at the time, honestly, but a voice tells me that these things really happened, and you need to believe that these things happened because that's how this works, right? And so at the time, and right after that, the preacher came to the jail, and we had church or whatever. I didn't mention it or anything. I was still just kind of in shock about the whole thing. Now, later on, given time to sit and really think that over, because for the longest time I thought, well, that was God talking to me, right? Don't get too excited. So I thought that for a while, and then I realized, hey, I fell asleep. The thing that I was reading was on my mind. We were getting ready to go to church. Everything points to me thinking about those things. I was reading the Bible out of boredom. So I fell asleep and dreamed a thing. And that though, and while you can say it's either way, which one of those is probably the case? That my mind works in the predictable way that we know that minds work, or that it was a supernatural intervention of something that we don't observe and have no evidence to say really exists. So I could believe the other, but I would be lying to myself at that point, because I don't think that happened, and it's not a choice for me to believe that it did.
Right. No,
I'm
it's
not
not a choice
convinced.
for me either, dude. I just have to accept what it is. And dude, that's actually pretty amazing that you had like that sort of experience. But I'm gonna tell you something. You don't think God would use things that he designed in the way that he intended it for? Because that blew my mind when I had this conversation with God about how the universe, dude. All right, you know what? You know what's really gonna get you to God? You love talking about the universe, you love understanding how it works and this and that. Well, guess what? When you have a relationship with God and you get super close to him, dude, he honestly starts telling you exactly the fundamentals of how everything works scientifically if you ask for it. He won't tell you every single detail because he doesn't want to make you God, but he'll answer certain questions and tell you certain things, dude, and it's just amazing, bro.
So my
Like
question
we're
to
in a
that,
black hole. We're in a black hole, dude. All right, so the white hole, so there's a white hole that came from heaven. So there a black hole that came from heaven, which on the other end of it was a white hole, which ended up
which are
leading to
theoretical
our
completely.
dimension. What?
Those are theoretical. We don't know that they actually exist, and there's a lot of questions of how the mechanics of that would actually work.
Well, where do you think that material is being sucked to? It's being sucked to a lower dimension.
Well, Hawking radiation says that it's returned into the universe, and so.
But you don't see where it ends up.
Well,
so how do you know?
You don't see God either, but you believe. The thing of it is, okay, as far as God uses science to explain it to me. So we know that natural processes are something we can observe and test.
Yeah, he designed the universe and how.
Okay. But so those natural explanations why should I say we have natural explanations for this and this and this and this and this, but because I'm looking for some creator to have kicked all that off into to action, then I'm going to say that God did it and insert a supernatural thing, which is something that we don't observe and have never observed. At least it's never been confirmed.
Well, that's what exactly makes it supernatural now, isn't it? Because if it's just like Jesus's resurrection, it's just like faith healing, it's just like, you know what I mean? All that sort of stuff. Because if it wasn't a miracle, if it wasn't supernatural, well, then it wouldn't be God doing it, because that's how God proves that he's God, is by doing those things that go against the natural law.
But see, you say that's how he proves that he's God, but that's actually that's not proof of anything other than
the resurrection was proof, you know.
Well, again, the resurrection.
If you believe the resurrection, if you
right.
You know what I mean, the 500 witnesses.
So inserting a God into that there, though, doesn't answer. First of all, doesn't answer any questions. It just creates more. But there's no reason to do that. The only reason to do that is based on a book that is the Old Testament consists of stories passed down over generations that have been translated repeatedly into what we now call the books of the Old Testament. The New Testament is an assembly of writings by mostly anonymous writers that
Paul wrote the epistles. He wrote the prison epistles. You know what I mean?
Much of Paul's writings are known forgeries.
So like Colossians 1:26-29, like this verse describes the mystery of Christ that was hidden for generations, but has now been revealed to the Lord's people. So this actually explains exactly why you can't see the things that you see. Because look, the mystery which has been hidden from ages and generations, but has now been revealed to his saints. To them, God willed to them to make the riches of the glory of this mystery among. See, he even says that Jesus is the mystery. And
but where is Paul getting this information?
What do you mean? Where is he getting this information?
Well, Paul says in the Bible
he's led by Spirit. That's why it's not him that has the information, but the Holy Spirit. That's not what he says.
Paul says, "These are the things told to me by these people and others," and they told him about the 500. They told him
that stuff. Yeah. I was talking about Colossians specifically, that verse. Yeah, but yeah.
Well, I'm just saying the writings of Paul in general are not. Okay. So there are eyewitnesses, and they tell a story of eyewitnesses. The Bible claims that anyway, but yet there are no actual accounts of eyewitnesses at all anywhere. Paul's Damascus Road thing is told in multiple ways in multiple books, and not the same way. Did they see and hear it? Did they not? Who saw and heard it? What? Donkeys don't have vocal cords. That's kind of an issue. But so to me, not only am I not convinced these things are true, but it seems that there's plenty of evidence to support not believing they're true. Like there's evidence to the contrary, and all that has to happen in that case is if I'm searching for, you say that God revealing himself doesn't give you a choice, but if I'm searching for that God, and I have done that, then I'm looking for those answers. At that point, I'm choosing God.
Because you're not asking the right way. I'm going to tell you exactly. I'm going to tell you exactly how to ask.
But that's convenient.
Father God, please, I really do want to seek you. I am seeking you right now. Please reveal yourself in a way in which you see fit, but I cannot deny.
TJ, almost those exact words numerous times throughout my life.
Because remember, I was a Christian for years. desire, hey, I want to see you in front of me, or hey, I want to see an
So
image of you, or
if I claimed that I had that desire, I just wasn't sincere enough in it.
there might have been a part of you that wanted some control of how it goes, or some
That's
desire of how it goes. And that's the
I'm,
problem I had before too. I
I mean,
literally
that's a
wanted
really
Jesus to
convenient
appear in front of
position,
me.
though. That's really convenient. Oh, you just weren't doing it right. Like, like,
I mean, because it's a heart issue. That's why. Because it really is. Because it
but
sort
you
of
don't
becomes like,
know anything about my heart.
what if you have a woman, right? So it's like having a woman and you just demand that she has sex with you. It's the same. It's the same thing. It's like that's not how you go about it. Take me to dinner
I
first.
think a lot
Get
of
to
this
know
is
me.
tied up
You know
in.
what I
I
mean?
think a
Get to
lot of
know
this
me.
is tied up into some kind of sexual thing for you, uh, TJ. That's what I think.
Well, I
But
used to battle lust really bad, dude. I'm like Apostle Paul.
sure.
I had that thorn in my side.
So is there like, but do I need God for any of that? Like, is there something that you believing allows you to do that I can't do without it?
Yes. Dude, I have a level of peace, a level of happiness, a level of wisdom and joy and understanding.
I have that.
Yeah, but it's like to a level that I cannot even describe every day, all day without
Yet
ceasing.
you're describing it.
Yeah,
You
but
know, like
well, it's like because it's like it's such an insane level of peace and happiness and joy and purpose and direction. Like I have no questions about my life and what I need to do and what my purpose is. And I spend every single minute of the day rejoicing and loving, even when I step in concrete or mud or fall down and bang my elbow, or I'm just eating some really humble meal, but it tastes good. I'm just
yeah,
grateful. And I had this outlook of the world. And I know it's something that's very hard for people to
people
understand.
get the Philly pills.
Yeah. Well, I was homeless on the street. You gotta listen, dude. I was
I
homeless on
was
the street.
too.
I was a drug addict. And it's like
Me
I have an
too.
appreciate. I mean, listen, just going through that makes you grateful, right?
This is sure being
Yeah.
grateful, being grateful for things. I'm not arguing against that.
Oh no, I know you believe it's a good thing. It's just now it's like a level that I didn't have before. And it's
So,
like it's about the relationship with God, dude. I
how
literally
long have
have
you been?
somebody I could talk to 24/7 that has my best interest at heart and tells me cool stuff all day long about science.
Okay, I mean if it works for you, I guess
Yeah,
whatever.
dude. And then I Google it and then he's right. He hasn't been wrong yet.
TJ,
And
if
he's like,
your
"Why you
belief,
Google it? You don't trust me?" He gets mad when I Google it, dude. And
if
I'm like,
if if your beliefs are what helps you to be a good person and treat your fellow man good and to do all those things and to cope with things in life without doing drugs and all that, then
yeah, just reality in general. Because
I
reality
encourage
sucks.
you 100% to continue that belief. But
I mean, listen, bro, keep seeking truth. That's all I say.
the the thing though is that, so do you care if we talk a little bit about your history with drugs?
No, no, absolutely. It's on there on the internet all over the place, dude. It's on Thorpe TV. It's on Glenn Lawrence, dude. It's on Jess White. It's on my channel, bro. It's everywhere. It don't matter.
So how long have you been clean, like completely clean?
I've been clean over 6 years completely.
Yeah, yeah. And whenever you got clean, was that like a what was the process for that? Did you just like you went to jail and you never did drugs? You went through a program. What what helped you to do that?
So I went to jail, and it wasn't until, of course, they maxed me out that I actually got clean. So I had to get away from like I was shooting up. At the time, I was shooting up meth, and I gave up heroin for meth because there was only fentanyl around, and I didn't want to die. See, I hated my life enough to the point where I was suffering, where I wanted to not exist in it, like reality, but at the same time I saw the beauty in life and the possibilities that could be there in life, and I still had this glimmer of hope. So it's like I didn't want to die. But anyway, they maxed me out, and after about being there for 3 months, I said, you know what, I'm going to be here for another 9 months, a year total. I said, I'm not going to waste this time. I said, I'm going to take my recovery seriously. I started going to the drug and alcohol group in jail, and it just happened to be church too. And I got reconnected with God at that point. But then I went to rehab voluntarily after I maxed out. But then that's when I got distracted. I got into girls after that, dude. I was having sex with all these girls in the rehab and stuff with my roommate.
No, that's horrible.
Yeah, dude, it was bad. We were there for all the wrong reasons. We were tattooing, we were making moonshine, bro. It's like, see how the devil always finds a way to pull you back? It's he's always a constant thing in your life that wants to stop you from achieving, because he wants, listen, dude, I think everybody should desire to have a good life, to have a life where they feel good about themselves, where they have a purpose, where they're a positive impact on this world and their communities and everything else. But the devil doesn't even want that, dude. The devil wants us to be miserable, chaotic, at each other's throats. And
well, the devil's a whole nother can of worms that I, you know. Let's continue with this. So it was during that time that you at least started to practice your belief in God, like go to church and those things. You were still doing all the things.
Bit, very, very lightly, yeah. So I would
Yeah.
like go to church once a week, and then I'd probably pray like once or twice a day, maybe for like 2-3 minutes. It was very like Christian light. And the thing is, I didn't understand that I was praying the wrong way the whole time.
Yeah.
Um,
And once you got completely clean and wasn't making moonshine and all those things, like once you were doing that, you were still practicing your religion, though, right?
No, I got out of it. I got into woman. So I started, that was my religion, was woman.
You quit going to church and praying and all
of it, dude. I just dove right into the kitty.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And then I said, you know what? This is my purpose. I'm meant to be a family man, because she had kids and stuff. And I was like, I was basically being daddy. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I was raising 2 kids that had a father that was constantly in jail.
I thought you were saying that your meaning was to go around having sex with all the women. I was going to say,
no. I mean,
every man thinks that about themselves at some point. But
I mean, listen, that was something that happened, but it wasn't my meaning, you know. Yeah, go ahead.
So at what point does Christianity come back into that?
Dude, literally 3 months ago.
Okay. So but back to 3 months ago, was there something else that happened? A relationship or some sort of, like, what happened 3 months ago?
The Trump assassination.
Oh.
I said there, I looked at the science. I looked at the so you know how they have like the CSI people and they do the head angles and this and that. They said there's no way, if he would have turned his head any other direction, he would be dead right now.
If a frog had wings, he wouldn't bump his ass when he jumped.
Well, I feel like it was divine intervention.
Right, you feel that way, but you have no reason to say that.
Well, I also saw the blood on his face. It was waving like an American flag and everything, dude. Like, if you could see the streaks, the way, go look at the photo after this.
I know what the photo looks like.
They got the waves and everything. Dude, it literally couldn't be more perfect. That's like God saying
it wasn't perfect, but people feel the feels again, right? So
well, you see how I could see that at least, right?
It sparked some kind of feeling within you, and you gave that meaning that may have not been apparent, but to you was.
Well, to me, what happened was I saw that, and then the gut feeling of revelation kicked in.
You do know I do a politics show, right?
No, I don't know that.
Okay.
I gotta check that out.
I think Donald Trump is probably one of the most corrupt human beings on earth, and that you cannot support Trump and also argue for morality.
I think he was. I don't think he is anymore. I think that he needs direction, but I think that he was born again in that moment that he got shot. And this is why I believe, because, all right, so when Moses went to go talk to the burning bush,
he
had to take his shoes off. What did Trump say? My shoes, get me my shoes. Why would his shoes just randomly come off?
They didn't randomly come off. They tackled his ass.
No one gets shot. No, it was before he got tackled.
No, it was not.
But
they
even
took
if you
him down to the ground.
Your shoes aren't going to come off. You fall playing football or whatever it is, your shoes don't.
I got my shoes knocked off several times on the football field. I don't know about you, but I've had shoes knocked off a number of times. But that's beside the point. So we go back to, like, again, you get this reasoning involved where you're like,
COVID too. I've been having these little things, these little wake up calls, and it says to God's children, those who are His will see the signs. and it was those little things over time adding up, and now all the prophecies and the
Yeah, but
Olivet
you know,
discourse.
every generation since Jesus's time has said that.
Well,
Every generation.
here's all right. So you know how they say Nero was the Antichrist? He was. He was the first of many. So people don't understand that with God's timeline, a day is 1,000 years, and a 1,000 years is a day.
That doesn't
It
mean
literally
anything.
says that in the book of Daniel.
It does say that, yeah.
Yeah.
It
So
says something
it's
different in Revelations, though.
well, the thing is, you have to take that same methodology. In Revelation, all the numbers are metaphorical, but sometimes they're both metaphorical and literal.
Don't you see that, TJ? Like,
It's really hard to discern that, but that's exactly, it proves my point. That's why you need hold up. That's why you need the Holy Spirit to discern, because it's not me that makes the decision. God says, "Hey, that's right or that's wrong," and He puts this feeling inside of you where you feel sick, and I could actually hear what He's thinking, not audibly, but like a thought.
God doesn't actually tell you. You feel something, and then you say, "That's God."
Well,
right?
it's like a overpower. Well, here's how I know it's Him. So you know how the human mind, it can only focus on one thought at a time. It can't focus on two thoughts simultaneously. What it can do is it could switch from one thought to another thought quickly back and forth into different things, right? But your brain technically can only think about one thought at a time, like focus on one thought. So this is how I know it's God. God's thought is more powerful than mine, and I feel the brain waves going in the opposite direction. I'm dead serious, dude. I feel a pushback. So if I ask God a question, and
do you know what ADHD
yes no.
is?
What?
ADHD.
Yeah, I know what ADHD is.
Because the ADHD is whenever you can't concentrate on your thoughts, and they change and they vary, and you.
Well, I'm not having that problem. I'm just saying that's how I know that our brains can only focus on one thing at a time. But here's the thing. My mind is able to focus on two. So it's not my mind, it's God's consciousness being projected into my brain through telepathy.
Oh, so you're able to think two things at the same time.
Yes, because God's thought is being projected. It's not my actual brain thinking it. It's receiving
Do you see how, though, that's
receiving
like, what does that, like, you say that, but how do you describe, because again, like multitasking, and I'll use the example of computers for this. Like computers don't actually multitask well, there's some that can now, but historically, computers don't actually multitask things. They just switch between them so fast that you don't recognize it. You see it as it doing multiple things at once. So
the thing is, I could have both of those things at the same time for an extended duration. And I could feel the different waves in my head. It's weird. It's hard to describe the feeling in my brain, but I feel like it's going like this, dude. It's hard. It's weird. It feels like my brain's being massaged.
I'll give you that one.
Listen, God also pushes down my eyelids whenever He talks to me, and He does it powerfully but gently. It's so crazy because you can feel how strong He is, but at the same time you can feel how gentle and loving.
And there's no way to confirm any of this.
No, dude. Actually, there is. If you got the Holy Spirit, use your discernment. Pray for discernment, guys. That's all.
If you believe that the Holy Spirit is a thing and true, then you can believe that it's true.
Yeah. So, but that's
that
the
seems
funny
like a good
thing.
method.
God, isn't that kind of crazy? That's
very crazy.
Only people who are God's children can see what is Him. It's beautiful at the same time, and it's crazy, but I love it.
Right, but also there's this thing of like, I have access to this because I've believed better and I've seen better.
No, it's not about believing better. You can't think like that. It's about being close to God. So there's different levels of.
I've been closer to God. However you want to word it.
Well, there's
the information that the rest of us aren't.
Well, there's another pastor that actually preaches this. There's a come to Jesus Christian who just comes to church and they're like, "Oh, I give my life to you, Jesus." And that's where it ends, right? They still go to church. They go to the picnics. They pray maybe once a time at night, maybe once or twice a week or whatever.
Back to
they don't have an actual relationship.
The lukewarm ministry again, right?
What?
The lukewarm ministry.
Yes, yeah, and even like the people that are like the believers too, is that they're not taking the time with God. It actually says in the Bible, all of us can be
You're
prophets
just not doing it right,
to
you know?
God. It's just we all have to. Well, the thing is, yeah, exactly. You have to live by faith and then understand that you were saved by grace. The moment that you start thinking that you're better than another person, God immediately humbles your ass. And it's happened to me many times. Dude, I used to think I was better than PDFs. I used to think I was better than them. And you know what God did? He freaking humbled my ass. And he reminded me, look at you, you sinner. Look at you jerking off, masturbating, because everybody around me started having an orgy in my apartment building. I'm literally surrounded by demonic stuff, dude. I don't even want to get into it because I haven't slept in days, dude. And that's because
Right.
they want to stop me from doing God's work. I mean, it makes sense, bro.
I
I
mean,
mean, sleep deprivation's torture, and
I mean,
God's letting me happen to build me up.
I'm no psychologist, TJ, and I wouldn't pretend to make a medical diagnosis about anything.
Well,
But
I've seen one, and they cleared me. I actually
oh, I don't think you're a danger
I
to
used to
yourself.
actually have psych issues.
that's
Dude,
that's
God
not
actually healed me. If you want me to be
that's not
serious,
what I'm getting at, though. What
oh,
I'm
okay.
saying about that is, though, is that I'm not, I can't make a medical diagnosis, nor would I pretend to. But it
Right.
does seem that an awful lot of these big ideas that you have end up tied back to sexuality in some way. And I'm look, I'm not telling you that you shouldn't believe anything you believe. I would never do such a thing. But I would encourage you to think about maybe talking to a secular therapist. All therapists should be secular, by the way.
I am
But
seeing a secular therapist, and
and have you told
I
them this
told him
stuff?
about my lust issue. That's
Yeah.
why God said He's giving me a woman, because He doesn't want me to sin against Him.
God's given you a woman that like it's God's woman to give you.
Yes. Well, the thing
I
is,
think
here's the thing. God here. God only wants those who choose Him, and it's the same thing when He gives us a partner. That partner chooses God, right? So we both choose God, and God knows that we will both choose each other.
what
We will be
happened.
equally
What?
yoked.
Yeah. So what happened to choice though?
Well, here's the thing. You do have the freedom to choose. I'm just sick of choosing, bro, because I picked the wrong ones. I said,
But
God,
if
you
you
pick her
think
this
that
time.
God, if you think that
He knows. He's
if
gonna
you
pick
meet
the
a
right one.
Christian, if you meet a Christian woman and you say, well, God said He's given me a woman, and then a woman comes along, you're going to say that that's the woman that God said He's given you, right?
I did, and you want to know something? God revealed to me later on. He revealed to me that's not the one, TJ. He's
Yeah.
like, I didn't tell you before
It
because
was
I
right after her acting crazy, wasn't it?
no.
I'm just,
Before
I'm just
no,
joking. That was a
listen.
joke.
This is why I also believe. I just remembered. This is why I also believe. So I was going out. I said goodnight to my girlfriend Brianna. She lives upstairs. I lived downstairs when I was living with her in Erie, right? And she was my fiance. She asked me to get married. She asked me to get married. Catholic girl. I thought it was all going to be good, you know? So I went to the store to go get a pack of cigarettes. God tells me, He interrupts me. He says, your woman is being unfaithful to you. She is cheating on you. And I said, no way. There's no way she's doing that. He's like, you have to go home. You have to see this. And I said, no. I said, I don't want to see that. I said, I'd rather not see it, even if it is true. Do you know what happened? Immediately, it went from a clear sky at nighttime to downpouring rain. My car starts sliding all over the place. I'm closer to home, so I have to go home.
Do you know what a
I
cloudburst
drive
is?
home, and then I walk in, and then both of them are fully clothed, mind you, but they were about to get busy. It was about to happen. And I caught them in before the act happened. And then she starts beating the crap out of me, screaming this and that. She stabbed me, took the $50 pot of orchids that I sacrificed food for to give her, smashed it on my head, bro. And the thing is, like, God did that because He wanted me to know that He loved me. Because if I would have just found out and walked in on her actually having sex with him, it would have broke me. It would have destroyed me. And that's why I say God is a God of love and mercy, not just judgment. That judgment comes at our own hands because we chose to have those things happen to us.
Yeah, but you're adding things afterwards too, TJ. You
Yeah.
are, and you. I mean, like even though you say that those are inspired by the feeling of God or whatever, it's still you adding things into what it is. God's not telling you that directly. You're adding those thoughts and things into it. So let me ramble on for just a minute, okay?
No, 100%.
Because I've been through drug addiction and rehab and those things too. So we can relate somewhat on some of these things, I'm sure, and find some places where we agree. So, you know, one of the big parts of me getting clean was accountability and being able to take accountability for not only the bad things that I did in the past whenever I was in active addiction and selling drugs to friends who later overdosed and died, and um, having relationships with women just because it's um, it's it was convenient for me being a drug dealer at the time, right? Like those kind of things happened or whatever, and I got clean. And the thing of it is though is that I went through multiple programs. I tried religious based programs and medicated assisted treatment. I tried just quitting and going and drying out and not doing drugs. That resulted in multiple overdoses. Um, I think that there was a lot of failed things that I did, and it's I've been clean for 10 years now, but at no time in that do I need to assert a God to have gotten me through any of it. Now maybe you do, but I don't. There's no need for that, because I know that the things that I did, I put in the work, and I made better decisions along the way. And there's key moments within that where I could have made a decision that would have resulted in me going back to a lot of that. And I am thankful that I was able to do that. But I don't need to be thankful in some supernatural being for it. I sometimes it's just whatever at the moment made me make a better choice. But I don't need to ascribe a supernatural cause to that choice. One of the things that whenever you're on drugs, I'm sure you can agree with, is that you end up using drugs to suppress emotional responses to things. And whenever you get off drugs and get clean, you get those emotions back, which is both a good thing and a bad thing at times. It can be a double-edged sword, because yeah, it's good to feel things again and those positive emotions, but you also feel a lot of guilt, and you look for a lot of answers of to make amends for those things. Why did I do these things? Why did I feel that way? And the dangerous thing about inserting a God at that point is that it lets you take that accountability and put it in God. And the only issue with that is then if you fail, or if you're not really like being clean, because like being clean kind of consists, it's more of a lifestyle thing than anything, right? Like it's not just not doing drugs, it's not being in those situations and those things. And so there's if you start inserting a God to that, it lets you to take that accountability and put it in God. And then when you fail or slip up or things, it's, oh, that was God showing me this. And it lets you take accountability out of it, whenever accountability is the most important thing that you have. I'm not saying you did that, but I'm saying whenever I look at these faith-based programs and people who get off drugs by God, they end up getting off drugs, and then God fulfills that for them. God gives them that endorphin rush and that feeling that they were getting from drugs. Then they feel like they've got some knowledge that other people don't have, because they're getting this feeling of it. But those feelings are just feelings, and they can be explained naturally every time. There's nothing that you've said tonight that would make me think that there isn't a natural explanation for those things. And I feel for you. I really do, because I think that.
I mean, I've had prophecies come true. He predicted the Trump assassinations, all of them down to the exact month and day, and I have them written down too. Took pictures of them with timestamps, bro.
I don't
I'll
believe
send
you.
them to you.
Yeah.
I'll send them,
I mean,
bro.
you can believe me. You can send me things that you have written down now, that doesn't tell me that you had them before. Though.
Well, I know I have screenshots with the dates, and I also sent them to other people too. I sent it to multiple people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I made sure to send it to multiple people. And same thing with the hurricane. Everybody laughed at me 3 months ago on a live stream. I said a hurricane is coming this year that's going to kill hundreds of people, and they're not going to know why on the news. They're going to say, where are these people going? Where are these people?
I see you, chat. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
So the thing that and this is what I've
But again, sometimes God reveals certain things to certain people so that they believe, not everyone else. And because I had so little. You want to know something, brother? I have so little faith in myself, but I had so much faith in God. And the reason why God revealed things to me was so that I would have faith in myself by having faith in God. And it's no different than, okay, so like before when you were talking about your point, right? How like you don't need to have God because it takes away accountability. I think both can coexist, because it's not that God did it all by himself for you, like he took away the addiction all by himself. It's that he was there with you, just like a Deuteronomy 131. And in the wilderness, where you have seen how the Lord your God has carried you, as a man carries his son, all the way that you went until you came to this place. So it's not that we got there alone, or that God made us go there alone. It's that he went where with us through that tough time. He builds us during those periods, and he makes us stronger. He forges us like an iron sword. And that's why the trials and tribulations that I've gone through in my life, they weren't to hurt me. They were to build me up and get my strength. And yes, you know what? It was a team effort. It was both God and me that got there.
Well, TJ, we're going to wrap this up right here. And
no, 100%. It's been a good conversation, brother.
But no,
I see where you're coming from, though. Send me links, dude.
We can talk again. But the thing I want to point out and leave you with before we part ways here is that in every case of this, everything that you've said tonight, every single thing that you've said has been of, well, this thing, and God directed me to this, and that's why I feel this way about it. And I know that you said that you're talking to someone, and
he gives me actual words, yes, and sentences, yes, but it's not an audible voice; it's a thought.
No. I'm talking about you're talking to a therapist, is what I'm talking about some of your other issues of it being tied to sexual events and other things.
That stuff.
And with your recovery stuff, I imagine there's some kind of something going on there. But I encourage you to talk to people who can help you to explain the things that you can't explain. Like, just because you can't explain it doesn't mean there's a supernatural cause behind it, or there's some otherworldly cause to it at all. And
like my insatiable lust that I used to have?
Well, I mean, people have that sometimes. But the thing of it is, I'm just encouraging you to continue having those conversations. That's all. That's it.
I'm not, brother. Same thing with you, brother. Man, I appreciate this conversation. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to say a few words to my crew here and stuff. I'm going to let you get out of here. And I mean, you're welcome to hang out and chat or whatever. But I'm going to have a little talk here, and then. But thank you for your time, TJ, and I hope the best for you, and keep on being being the best person you can be, and
you too, brother. You honestly are a great guy. I honestly, out of you actually talk with logic and love and reason, and I could tell that you're not like, you're not a pitchfork person, and neither am I, dude. I didn't come here to burn down your channel or try to like whatever this and that. I came here just to simply have an open dialogue to understand that the way that you think and came to certain conclusions.
My goal here was not to, my goal was not to create any kind of adversarial thing here or anything, just to have a discussion with you. And I don't, there's no, there's nothing else to it than that. It wasn't to poke fun or to say you're
No,
wrong.
and you want to know
Or,
something? God is telling me to say this right now. He said the stuff that I gave as proof and evidence was not for those that don't believe, but for those that do believe and will become Christians.
okay.
And that's why he said maybe this stuff is not going to help you and this and that, but I guess it wasn't meant for you. See, that's the thing, dude. I don't even get to choose what I say, but I'm down with it. I'm cool with it because
Yeah.
you know, listen, bro, I have only failed in my life when I've tried to do
Yeah.
things all on my own. And when I do things with God by my side, I seem to succeed. So that's why I'm doing it. I follow the proof and the evidence. And my life is better, dude. I'm a better person. My life is personally better. And you said you're all for it. You said even if you take all the supernatural stuff out of it, if you at the end of the day, you're a better person for yourself and society, that's a good thing, right?
Yeah.
And I agree with that with the community that you build, dude. Like
Yeah.
you
No,
have a bunch of
I
people
think you
that
need
you
to,
know what I mean?
if I'm to give you any kind of advice at all, it would just be keep talking to people about your experiences and stuff and try to better understand them yourself.
Yeah. And the
That's
main
it.
thing is bringing people, out of addiction and people that are like lost and have like no guidance in life. And it's just like at the end of the day, even if I just help them better than a good thing.
Oh,
But I'm gonna let
sorry.
you go, brother. All right, take it
All right.
easy.
All right. Thank you, TJ. Bye bye.
Thank you.
All right. So just a few words here
I'm
because,
just gonna drop out, Joe, just so that you can talk to everybody.
huh?
I'm just gonna drop out.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Um, just a few words here though to the chat and things, and I did see what you were saying. Um, I don't think that I don't know of anybody in chat whose call it is to make that one belief is a mental illness. I don't think there was anything there that any of you can make that a judgment about. I think TJ is confused about some things. I think TJ believes some confusing things, and I do think there are some issues there that he should talk to someone about. But I wasn't trying to make him talk to me about those things, and I don't. I'm sorry if some of you felt like that, but that's not your call to make. The you know, TJ asked to come talk to me. It wasn't me putting someone on here to make fun of them or putting somebody up here to say that I was in some way like it wasn't a goal to dunk on him. He asked to speak to me, and so I was letting him do that. And well, I mean, yeah, you can think that all you want. That's fine. You are everybody is welcome to form their own opinions. I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying the idea here was not to in any way make fun of TJ or to do any of that. So I just want the people that were saying that I was somehow doing something wrong because TJ may have some bad ideas and confusing thoughts. I would push back and say many theists do. Some of TJ's things did border on some things that yes are concerning, but the goal was never to make fun of TJ or anything else. It was he wanted to come talk to me, so I let him come explain to me why he thought the things he thought, and there's nothing wrong with that, and I will stick to that. The so um, I don't, I explained to TJ multiple times that I thought that, there are people that you can talk to about some of these issues and things, and that I encouraged him to do so. And I hope that he does. But, I don't think that, I mean, I've heard plenty of people, especially in like, um, oh, well, who are the ones that do the evangelical prophecies and stuff? I've heard plenty of them say many of those same exact things, and it's I understand you're concerned, but it was never an attempt to make a um, a diagnosis. It was never an attempt to poke fun or to do any of those things. TJ wanted to come talk to me, and I said okay. And I think that I think that a lot of the things that TJ said will lead you to, like, you can see how he makes it to those places. And people who have something I do have experience with is the addiction side of that and recovery. And I've seen any number of people who go through recovery to end up in some weird places with religious belief and things, because again, you're trying to still get that feeling without the drugs. And sometimes religion does that. I'm not saying that's his thing. I'm just saying it's one possibility. And yeah. And thank you, Chris. It's never my it's never my goal to like display any kind of thing that may be harmful to that person or anyone else. And so I just want you to know that I want everybody here to know that at no time was that any of the part. Again, this whole conversation came about because TJ asked to speak to me during the stream over on Ember's channel the other night, and that's what I was that's what I was doing. And so and I do agree somewhat there at the end that there are things that I just couldn't address, and I shouldn't pretend to be able to, and I was hoping to not. And about, yes, I don't know what's going to come out of people's mouths. That's one thing that I've told everyone that follows me a little bit, has heard me say that, you know, with these conversations with theists, sometimes it can be concerning because you don't know at what point the conversation is going to jump the tracks to crazy town, is what I say. But that's, again, not a medical diagnosis. All that means is that I don't know at what point they're going to leave reality and enter into the supernatural and all that stuff. And some people do it earlier than others. But I will say that much of what TJ said is consistent with denominations that are widely practiced across the United States today. And those people are not considered mentally ill. I do think that some of TJ's things are related to some trauma and other stuff, but I don't know that. And I wouldn't pretend to. All right. So with that, I've got, we can do one of two things here. I've got 15 or 20, 30 minutes or so. If you guys want me to open it up and you can come in and talk and say your piece, I will. If you would rather just call it a night and we can go on, and I'll be on tomorrow with Jay Bundy at 2 o'clock. So we can do either of those things. And understand too, when I say those things, it's not that I'm not upset with anyone here or anything. I just wanted to point out what my goals and things were with that. They weren't to, it was to let someone talk about what they wanted to talk about. And it wasn't anything, it wasn't bigotry and it wasn't hate. And it may not have been connected to reality in places, but, you know, that's not something that I can fix. And so, but yeah, B, I've done a good job of ignoring you all night. No, I'm not going to cry. All right. So with that, he went live. His chat thinks you have sexual sin. I'm sure. You know, it is what it is. I had a, you know, some parts of it were interesting, some parts of it were a little troubling, and I don't disagree with that. I think that, and I agree with you to some extent, Stacey, being gentle with these people who are really trying to run our lives in less than a week. Yeah, there's some people. It's no, yeah, you're again. You're all welcome to your opinions. Um, uh, yeah. I knew that he was live. And I don't know why he did it that way because they at the beginning, whenever it was muted on his channel, um, that was kind of suspect because he didn't stream it from here, and that's why he acted kind of weird about it. Because I told him even before we started, I had told him that if he wanted to stream to his channel, that was perfectly okay and that he could do that, and he didn't. So I guess he went live so that they could watch him, and but they couldn't hear anything. I don't know. I don't know what he was doing there. I don't know why. I'm not going to pretend to know why. But anyway, um, I say on this show all the time, and leading up to this show, I've told multiple people that this is the thing is that yeah, you can jump in, Peter. Uh, yeah, there was a lot of sexual fixation involved there. I agree with that. But and I pointed that out. But uh yeah, that I mean that anyway, the thing that I say on this channel a lot, Peter, I posted the link, is that I'm willing to have honest conversations with anybody who wants to talk about what they believe and why. And those conversations are never going to be based in reality for people who are skeptical of that position. It's uh, and maybe that is a reason for me to maybe amend that message a little bit. But whenever TJ asked to have an honest conversation with someone who was asking for such things, and I went and checked out his channel, and it's not full of bigotry. It's there's some things I question some of his stuff and whatever, but um, it wasn't that. So if I'm going to sit here and say that I'm willing to have conversations with people who want to tell me what they honestly believe, I can't then run away when somebody wants to tell me what they honestly believe. Um, you know, I don't know why it kicked me out of the studio.
It wasn't me.
Yeah, I know. It's weird.
It wasn't me.
What's up with you, Peter?
I'm doing fine. I had a busy day today, but yeah, all is well. I only caught the back end of the conversation, and so I wanted to jump on just to say, I think I will go back and watch it from the start, but I think you did a pretty good job, and I was a little bit appalled by some of the things that I saw in chat. I mean, if we think that we have it right, I don't think we should call people who believe in a mental illness, no matter how crazy their beliefs are. I'm still friends with a guy from New York who's a flat earther, believes in pretty much every conspiracy theory you can think of. But he's basically a good guy. I think he's deluded, but he's a good guy. And if we want these people to learn how to think, I think we need to start by taking them serious and not start degrading them, because I don't think that that is helpful. And I'm really happy that even with some of the things that I heard him say, that you at least gave him the dignity to say that. And I think we need more people like that. And so, and if people don't like what they see, they should just wipe away and go to a different channel. That's my opinion. I think you did a good job. I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Peter. Hey, Nitty, how are you?
Hey, Nitty.
Oh, I'm good. I didn't get to catch a lot of it. But the chat's telling me everything I need to know over there.
Yeah.
It was pretty wild. At least the last few minutes that I saw was pretty wild. But
what do you think was the best point that he made?
Oh boy. I think that, he talked about how whenever he was in jail and he found out that he was staying, that he put his hope in something. And I feel like that was probably the most reasonable part of it. Like, I can see, I've been to jail, I've been in those situations, and I know that a lot of people pick up religion at that point. And so to me, I could relate to that part of it. So maybe I get it, but there was a lot of things that were, and I think like some of his talk about the sexual stuff and all that, I think that maybe there's a filter issue there where he's just, like maybe he was telling a little more than he needed to tell.
For himself?
Maybe he feels... yeah.
When people do that when people do that in my like one-on-ones in Panera, I'm just like, let's move on. That's just me.
He at one point talked about being in the shower with himself, and
that's a little much.
It was a one-off sentence, but
that's Pee Wee Herman vibes.
He many times talked about, like his people having orgies all around him, and like, yeah, I mean, things that there was just a lot of times that sex got called back into it. And,
his chat said you were the one bringing it up and you were stuck on it.
I never once brought up sex at all. It was every time it was a response to him.
Fucking liars.
Saying that there were like, he would say something about it, and I would say, yeah, there's, like, TJ, it seems that a lot of times you keep coming back to the sex thing. That's all I ever said about sex, period.
Shit.
Yeah, weird. So I don't know where they gather that from.
I'm curious, Joe. Did you ask him how he knew that what he thought was God, how he verified that was actually God? Because that would have been one of my questions, and how he did that.
I mean, in maybe a different way, I said as much. I did ask about, like, like you've inserted God as the reason for these things, but you have no explanation for why you're doing that. That was kind of how I did it, instead of, and then asked him to explain that way. But what's up, Chris?
Hey, how's it going? How you doing?
Ooh, you're loud.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
Let me see. Is it me or?
There you go. Now you're good.
I think it's better.
All right. There we go. Hi, Nitty. Hello, Peter. How you doing?
Doing fine.
Okay, good. I just want to say, I didn't mean to tell you what to do about your channel. It was just one of those that I came in, and at first I was like, I would tear this guy up if I was in there chatting. I'd be like, you know, and I'd be all over him like ugly on a stick. And then he just kept talking, and the more he talked, the less
How would that have been
funny,
helpful?
the less funny it would have been, you know.
How would that have been helpful,
right.
Chris?
I don't know. How would it have been helpful, Peter? How would it not have been helpful, Peter? Do you not think this individual could have used some kind of talking to, other than just soft-handedness? Do you not think he could have used some like straight up, listen, dude, this shit is crazy? Do you not think he could have used some of that? And what are you to come in here judging me about it?
No.
Why are you judging me about it?
I absolutely don't think that's helpful.
My deal was I was concerned for the guy. Whenever he came in, he was saying things I was like, oh man. You know,
and you don't tell him that he's crazy if you're concerned for him.
You're not even listening to what I'm saying. Let me finish what I'm saying, Peter. When I first showed up, I saw there was a thing going. I saw the guy was saying stuff. I was like, hey, look, here's a Christian. We're having fun. I could get in there and I could do my thing and we could have some fun. And then he began to speak and I began to listen to what he was saying and I began to grow concerned and it was no longer funny. Now that you know what I'm talking about, does it make a little more sense? Why are you being a jerk, Peter?
So
maybe you should mind your business.
If you post in the side chat, I'm going to mute this until he's gone. I think that was one of the last things.
Again, I hadn't even gotten that far.
I don't think that's helpful.
Let me finish. Again, that's why I even got on the chat.
That was just before he left.
Let me finish what I'm saying. The reason why
you were in the chat long before that. Don't pretend that was one of the first things you said, because that was one of the last things you said while he was still here.
The one. All right.
I don't want to argue about this because this is Joe's show.
Then shut up and let me talk to Joe, because I got here to talk to Joe. Shut up and let me talk to Joe.
What do you mean shut up?
Joe.
Okay, guys. Let me moderate.
Are you suddenly Mr. Important here who thinks that everything's about?
The first thing I did whenever I came on,
I muted both of you. So guys,
spicy.
Let's talk about we can talk about this without fighting amongst ourselves, and whatever differences you two may have or want to have or whatever, you can deal with later. We can talk about the show that happened, and you can disagree about those things, fine, but like bickering back and forth, nobody can understand both of you. And it does nothing to actually have a conversation about it.
I fully agree. Okay. Let's move on from this.
If I may say what I came to say.
Yeah, go ahead.
One was that I did come in hot. I did see that it was a serious situation. I was like, oh, I shouldn't. And then I was concerned. The other thing I wanted to say, remember I said it was point 1 and point 2. Point 2 was that I wanted to apologize to you for my comment whenever I did say I was going to mute, because that was wrong. I felt like that was wrong. At that point, I had said my piece about how I was worried about what was going on. Not that you were doing anything wrong. It's that you didn't know what he was going to say. It was just that he came on, he started saying things that I feel like I wouldn't platform. I wouldn't let somebody come on and sell. And so I said that, and then I kept my peace. I did say he was crazy and that he needed therapy. I didn't say he was crazy. I think I said he needed therapy. And at the end, I could bear to listen to him no longer. So I was going to turn away, but I wanted to support you and your channel. So what I should not have done was tell you. If I muted it, that was fine. I shouldn't have said it. I should have minded my business. Peter.
Well, thank you, Chris. And I will say that I do agree that there were some things in there that I found concerning as well. But I do think that there are, apologists and believers are two different things. And I think that many believers may hold some beliefs that no one's ever challenged them on. They found nothing but groups of people to say, this is correct and the right way to think about it. Right. And so I wanted to push back a little bit. Yeah. You're welcome to come in. I wanted to push back against some of those things and let him say, you know, whatever he wanted to say, as long as it wasn't getting into some kind of territory of being dangerous, like it sounded like he's a danger to himself or others, or something that you know, like, but I wasn't going to make a determination about his mental health state, because I'm not the person to do that. Yeah.
Joe, Tsunami is backstage.
Oh, I'm sorry. I couldn't see. You're right behind the lights, Sumami. My bad. I'm sorry, Sumami.
So in case we get distracted, I just the purpose of my coming on is I just really wanted to say I was sorry for butting into your channel and your business and all that. For in the chat, that was, I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. That's why I wanted to get on the live stream at all. Normally, I kind of don't do it. So I'm sorry.
I think you meant well, Chris. So I'm not in any way upset with you.
I shouldn't have done it. Peter's he's absolutely right about the last comment. I totally, as a content creator, no. And whenever you were going, bitches, you need to not be telling me about what I should be doing on my show, I was like, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. So I apologize.
That's not exactly what I said. But
no, it's not. I paraphrased. I did. You said I could cuss on the show, so that was
yeah. You can cuss all you want.
And to do what I can. Let me, before I get too carried away, Peter, I'm sorry for getting gruffy with you. Apologies. Not you have to say anything. I'm sorry. I'll be a good Chris. I just came off unfortunate because you didn't know I was there, because you were right. Picking on that guy was not the thing to do.
But I'm sorry. I have to fucking, like, I have to speak. I have to intervene.
Okay. I
absolutely do think that picking on him when it comes to certain comments is the right thing to do. Yeah. Not when it came to the comments that were, like, we were talking about possible mental health concerns, but when he was making extremely fucking misogynist comments.
I missed that part.
Basically referring to us as women as, like, I don't know, I guess we're literally not even humans, we're objects, like, that can be given. He does need some fucking pushback and some.
Well, I did push back against that too. So
yeah. True.
But yeah,
I didn't let that go by. When the comment about the women are something that God can give to him, like they don't have a choice. That's, you know, like that was a weird thing to say. And again, I don't know how that amounts to me talking about sexual things, but
I mean, I guess it's internally consistent with a lot of the narrative. So
is there a view that we're not supposed to engage them outside of just being nice? Is that a view?
Yeah, anybody can engage anyone the way they want. I chose to do it the way I did today. That's all.
No, well, I was actually asking about mine. When I first came in, I said I was going to go after the guy, like we atheists would do.
Yeah,
and that apparently that was not the thing to say, apparently. And I'm just curious if there's.
I don't go after people. I try to reason with them, which is the exact opposite of going after someone.
I'll let you take over now, Joe. Because you just got finished saying we can address them any way we want to, Joe.
No, you can on your channel, yeah.
That's right. Well, is this your channel or is this Peter's channel? Oh my God!
Well, I thought I was an atheist. Sorry, I thought I was part of the we atheists.
I thought I was
not part of the.
I thought we were a monolith, that we all do things exactly the same.
And you know what?
Yeah, I definitely don't do things that way.
Right, and that's you. And what gives you the right to tell me what to do anyway?
And I wouldn't have
gives you the right to lump me in with your views, because you said, like we atheists do. We atheists don't do that. Most atheists I know.
You're hicking up on that one word, that one little phrase, that one little thing, because I said we atheists. I'm sorry.
Most atheists I know, I'm sorry if I was under
now you're lumping. Now you're lumping.
So most atheists I know don't go after atheists. We like to reason with them, because that is the only way you can convince someone. If you go after someone, all you're going to do is spread more hate and confirming the view that is pushed in churches, that atheists just want to fight and then they're unhappy, and that they just want to butcher you and drag you through the mud. And I want to give the people that I talk to the exact opposite experience.
But Peter,
And
I
that
love you,
is-
but
and-
you've had so many people just cut and fucking just like cancel because you do go after them.
And you went right after me, and I didn't even have the chance to apologize to Doe. You didn't even let
I
me
mean,
finish my goddamn
just as
sentence
hot-headed
before
as
you
I
went
am.
after me. You didn't even know what the hell I was going to say. So I was gonna go enjoy the rest of my evening because I was doing
why I
that. I
love
just
you.
wanted to say hi to Joe and apologize for being a jerk, and that's all I wanted to do. Before you decided to stick your nose in the air, become higher mighty than everybody else. No. I'm out. You can have the last word. All the last words. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Tsunami. By the way, and Peter, it's unfortunate that this is the way we encounter each other again after so long. Have a good night, as best you can.
So to explain some of why I said what I said there, if somebody's having a conversation, it's up to you how you have that conversation, and people will agree, disagree, whatever. There are certain things that, and I think that the thing about the God given people women, I think that was definitely something that was uncalled for and gets into the realm of hurtful, awful things to say, and that can't go on without some kind of pushback. But outside of that, I mean, Chris asked, or not Chris, TJ asked to come speak to me. That's what he asked for. I didn't ask him to debate me, or I didn't want to argue with him at all. In fact, he originally asked for a debate, and I said, well, can't we just have a discussion? Like, can't we just talk? Like, why do we have to have a debate?
Someone's got to win you to Jesus, bro.
Yeah.
Because, like, I popped over there again while we were talking, and he's, like, praying for us.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, okay.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
It is strange for people, but whenever for those of us that were believers, is that not how we would have behaved then?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just saying.
Yeah, it is strange. I agree, but like it's predictable. I don't know. I mean, I think that TJ had some pretty wild claims and stuff that he couldn't support, but I don't think they were any more disjointed. I mean, if you have two different beliefs that are both not consistent with reality, they're both not consistent with reality. Like it's
yeah.
And as long as they're not being hurtful, bigoted, or misogynistic, which there was a moment there where it was. As long as they're not doing those things. You think?
Oh,
maybe I'm just not. Maybe I just wasn't attuned to some of the other things. I know the whole like God gives me women thing, and like that's why again.
Not a single time did he refer to a woman as like a human being. He couldn't even speak of his mother in respectful terms. He called her a cripple.
What?
Yeah, yes. He could do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Gross. But, lovely.
He was a dickhole. Aside from any other issues that might be going on, he was a dickhole when it comes to like women.
I like to say dickle. Like if you're a dickle. That's my favorite way to say. Yeah.
Dickle Ray. That's the dad in you, bro. That's the
dad I have to come up with non-swears. I use non-swears. Like what's or nuts?
I'm just saying, I do think that apologists need some a little bit of snapback and a little bit of fucking bite every once in a while. I'm not necessarily saying Peter is wrong. Peter, don't get mad at me just because I said that.
No,
I think they need that shit. Because given what they're doing in the West right now, yes, they need some I literally cannot get an abortion if I get raped in my state because of Christianity, bitch, because of Christians passing laws right now. They need the fucking pushback. But he's a little different because I think there's a lot of issues going on with him that are separate from his apology, his Christian apology. Like
I want to clean his room.
So Sumami,
Was it dirty?
you know,
Oh my
you
God.
know, I love you for who you are and the way you react in chat every once in a while. And 9 out of 10 times I will support you in pretty much everything you do. But that
I
said,
get out of hand plenty. It's fine to correct me when I get like that.
yeah, well, I have had interactions with people on Orange Channel that weren't all too happy with you, and I still have your back because I don't think you've ever overstepped the line. Because I know the rules on Orange Channel, and you're still there, so you haven't overstepped them. But and I agree with you on the whole thing regarding women. That's one of the things that I will push back on too. But there's a difference in doing that really aggressively. If you're talking to people one-on-one in a live show, I don't think that's the best approach. I mean, Nitty has seen me interact with people who I just think are trolls on a Christian channel, I think.
Sure.
That live streams every day.
Oh.
So I do that too. So I'm not saying that I'm holier than the Pope, if I can use a Christian sentence for that. But yeah, if I really want to interact with someone, and to the degree that I'm having them on my show and talking to them, I like to keep it cordial because I think that just helps the whole cause. And if you can't reach the person you're talking to, at least you can, as the Christians will say, plant a seed in the Christians who are watching. If that makes any sense.
So I will apologize for TJ's remarks that if they were offensive to females and stuff, I may have like just overlooked it and things because again it's and not intentionally. The thing about the pretending women are property, when I did push back about that, he says that's not what he was saying. So you know, but there, now that you mention it, I do understand where there's other things that he said, and now I'll be better prepared to deal with that if it happens again. So thank you for bringing it to my attention.
What a good thing is when that happens, Joe, is ask them if they think women are equal to men. It's usually what I do.
Yeah.
And then if they disagree with that,
weaker vessel,
then start asking them why they shouldn't be. Yeah.
No, you're right. And you know, like, and I do agree though that like going the term going after or being more confrontational or pushing back harder against certain things, like I think that there is value in that as well. But again, like TJ asked to come talk to me. I didn't even specify a topic or anything. He said he wanted to come talk to me. I had made the claim that I'm willing to have honest conversations with anyone that wants to have them. And at the times that I thought he was being dishonest, I told him I didn't believe him. So I mean, and that's kind of why I was being very lenient about a lot of things. Like I pushed back to the minimum on some things. Definitely some of his claims about the Bible specifically, I could have been a lot more aggressive about. And some of his claims about the sexuality and the thing about women, I could have been an asshole about those things. And maybe I should have been more of an asshole about those things. And so I will definitely take all input into consideration. I mean, this isn't something that I normally do. I spend a lot of time focusing on the atheist community itself rather than worrying about having conversations with Christians. But again, he asked for it, so I was like, well, yeah, we can set that up and do it. And you know, like I'm not insecure in the things that I say to the point that I'm not willing to have that conversation if asked to. But I'm not pursuing it myself, you know, like it's just not something I'm after.
And I agree with Melanie N in the chat. You don't have to apologize for the things that he said. I mean, that's on him.
I'm apologizing for maybe not noticing and pushing back when I should have. That's the thing that I'm apologizing for.
I don't think anybody expected some of the things that he said.
No.
Yeah,
no,
I mean,
sure.
yeah, you can't.
And also, how long have you been doing conversations like this, Joe?
I don't do conversations like this.
No, but when was your first?
My first conversation.
Like this with a theist? When was that?
I don't know, maybe a year ago.
And you've had how many?
I've only talked to a few theists on this channel.
So you can't be an expert at doing this if you only have done a few conversations.
Yeah, for real.
People, if that is what people want to complain about, I mean, you learn as you go, and you never stop learning. So that's all I can. I'm still learning. I've told many times when I grow up I want to be Mark Reed, but I don't think it's going to happen.
I just laughed when he did that top. He said, I'm a prophet, but I don't want to go into that. And I was like, yeah, I bet you don't.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing to start off with. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. But you know, also I knew going in, I did a little bit of research to make sure that I wasn't going to have him on and then later find out that he had 25 videos talking shit about some group of people. Any group of people, atheist included. But so I did a little bit of research on him, and in that time I found that, you know, he had mentioned that he had dealt with addiction and been clean for a little while, and that I knew that he had just kind of started doing this internet thing a few months back, and so I wasn't. I had some empathy for the going through addiction and recovery and stuff, and I kind of so I felt bad for him in a number of places there where maybe I should have been more upset about some of the things he was saying, and just been more aggressive about pointing out how they were flat wrong.
But that's a difficult decision to make, because if he thinks that God brought him out of addiction, I don't think it would be a good thing to immediately I can't speak anymore. Immediately tell him to step away from God, because that might have him go back to his previous life, which isn't a good thing. I always keep that in mind.
Well, quite the opposite.
It's not a thing.
I told him that if you know your belief is what you need to keep you being good to your fellow man and clean and to be a good person, then continue to do it. I did encourage that he speak to somebody about some of the other things, though.
Yep.
But
and it's really hard to actually help people get counseling or whatever in a conversation, because they're not going to go do that just because you mention it.
I think when you brought up the fact that putting that responsibility back onto God when somebody may happen to relapse or have, you know, cravings or things like that was a good point, because I do think that the fact that AA and NA are very much built around Christianity and belief in God and
Oh
dependence on
yes.
God is a problem. And I think that also has probably a lot to do with why people end up, relapsing, is because they are not taking
Yep.
accountability, and they're trying to put some of it back onto an imaginary deity.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you put your recovery on something outside of you, then you're more likely to relapse once you figure out that something outside of you doesn't exist or isn't what you thought it would be. So that's why I don't think that AA is a great thing.
What do you
That
guys
needs
think of
some-
this? I think that every time, and this isn't like to denigrate like people's character or anything, but every time there's a God help me get clean, my life was radically turned around by Jesus, especially for like relapsers, part of that narrative is I was at the deepest, darkest time in my life, right? When
Mhm.
that might be true, but for things like more like average people, I think it's a selection bias for their negatives. So like Christianity conditions you to view everything before that moment as the worst possible life you could be living. But then when you have it, oh my goodness, everything is turned around. And you're taught to reframe your whole life as a disaster before God. And what's worse is that when people do relapse, they're left thinking things like, well, maybe I wasn't at my lowest yet, right? Or
Mhm.
maybe God needed
Yeah,
me
that's a
to
good point
relapse.
too.
It's like, what? Like he needed you to feel even more desperate than you were the first time? I wish I could have a videotape to play back to some people like that, not to hurt them, but just to get them to see like, oh, there's I have this pattern and this pattern. And maybe looking into that
Yeah.
more. Extremes. Not good for people. It bothers me a hell of a lot more when it's people like from like decently well-off blue-collar and white-collar families that have that bullshit. Oh my God, my girl broke up with me and I was doing really bad in college. Fuck you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, glad the guy's clean.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
so mommy,
that's
what you put in chat, you should say here. I think those are great topics.
Hey, Steph.
Hi, Stephanie.
I got a couple of things.
oh no. Can you hear me?
Hey,
Oh, hey.
We
Hi,
hear you.
Steph.
wait a minute. Just a couple of things. I just got an echo going on here. So I gotta
Oh.
stop that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, with regard to the whole 12-step stuff and the higher power thing, I think I think it just the assumption that the higher power is a denial of the power you have within yourself to address these issues. And that to me is, it's a reflection of the religious emphasis on original sin, etc. Like we are corrupt, we are hopeless, we can only survive through the grace of God and Jesus Christ, his only son, our Lord, etc. and so forth. And it's to me, that's disempowering to individual agency, and but it serves a purpose. It serves a purpose of a person who's wrapped up in a situation of hopelessness. to give some sort of outside agency a bit of a hand up. It's still transference, though, because the
Yeah.
person who's getting helped.
I agree, but so when it helped,
And I know I just
they
winked out again, so fuck StreamYard.
yeah, you're frozen too. But so here's the thing, I don't see a problem in doing that. But once the person is to a point where they let's say the addiction thing, where they've left that behind them, then they should be honest enough to say, hey, this wasn't a God doing this. This was you. You did this. So you have that power within you. And then that would at least help them in the future. And Tsumami brought something up in the chat. It's the same thing when people go to the hospital, get cured, and then thanking God when there's a whole medical team that made that possible.
Right. It denies the power of other people helping you too.
Right.
Yes. And those are things that I'm vehemently against, and I think you should speak up about. So,
but there's no question that 12-step programs do help people.
yes, but if the end result is we brought them to Jesus,
yeah, it's a different kind of hangover. You know, you're left you're left with a different kind of dependency, and it's a dependency on something that is not real.
Well, some of that,
and that could backfire if you then get ill and then think, okay, I don't need to seek medical help because I've got this God who will take care of me, and so it does harm people.
Well, some of the program though is one of the things that I noticed through my experience in my church is that when you had a behavior that you wanted to correct, involving yourself in something else to do, you're trained to try and involve yourself in something else to do so that you're changing the structures in your life and hopefully part of your brain. And so it's not just developing like some kind of narrative, right? Well, I'm hopefully a positive one to help you progress through addiction. But the other thing that's helping these people is that it's restructuring their day and what they have available to do.
Correct.
And it's providing them like a social structure and a community that's also helping cure them, but that's not talked about, right? It's people don't like stop and think, oh wait, that's the other thing that we're adding to the equation that's not being accounted for. Like it'd be kind of like saying, I would actually be curious as to which would have more success, AA over Zoom or AA in person.
Yeah, and I'll be willing to bet you that AA over Zoom is less effective than AA in person, because
oh, you bugged.
Right.
No,
it's the activity of going to AA and doing the things that gives them other outlets whenever they and AA teaches you that too, though, to call your sponsor to do something else whenever you're thinking about those things.
Right.
Along
the
with
call your sponsor method,
stuff.
though, I don't think is as effective as having a literal place to be. But
no, oh right, no, neither do I. And I think AA overall is has horrible success rate numbers to show for it.
It's like Covenant Eyes accountability partner.
Yeah.
It's like both sides, right? Will you tell someone that you looked at the porn and you clicked your mouse or wanked your willy? Are you going to do it? Are you going to do it? Or we're going to send them an email. And then the person who gets the email, they're like, oh shit, my friend is really getting into it. I don't know if I should talk to them. Oh my shit. Oh man. Oh God.
It's a good thing I didn't say
I'm-
anything about being a porn star in chat, because that dude would have probably said some fucked up shit.
I
Lost
would have
his
brought you on
mind.
stage. I would have brought you on stage.
You know what the other negative thing though about Covenantize is that they'll send you like the site name and that they looked at some images, and you can actually try to verify what they looked at. Wouldn't that like also, if you were like struggling with it too, you're just like, oh shit, they're into some good stuff.
Yeah.
Is
Let me
is that just sort of like a chain letter or something? Because it seems like
No, so you set up a software on your computer, it takes screenshots and then emails them when they're questionable.
Yeah,
but
I know what the whole covenant.
I know your
is.
chat doesn't though, not necessarily.
Yeah, but if it sends it to your accountability partner, isn't it just sending them your porn? Like,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like, how many accountability partners can you have? Because
Wait a minute. No wonder Mike Johnson's so into the agreement.
Yeah,
My son's got good taste.
I would hate to see those notifications.
I mean, fuck.
But yeah, I think that they're, you know, and we can talk about this in good fun and stuff. And I wasn't, again, it's not, this isn't what I was looking to do. It's just something that fell into my lap, and I said, okay, like, you know, and
We get
I
it.
thought maybe I would share it with other people. So it's not, there's not a,
when I first started listening on the first.
Damn it. Glitched right at you saying the first.
Stephanie, turn off your camera. That might help with the whole thing.
It's actually
I think
the problem. The problem.
There you go.
The problem, Peter, is
There you go.
StreamYard. The problem is StreamYard, because I've used other streaming services and it has not caused this problem. And it also is possibly a problem with blocking within the router that this thing is going through at the moment. But it's literally StreamYard is the only streaming service that has this problem.
what might help if you go into the settings and set your camera to let's say 480p. That might just help, because now you're no longer cutting out, so it is a bandwidth issue. And
You know what
Or
happens
StreamYard
though?
can
I
have
appreciate your
hardware.
technical. I appreciate.
nope,
Oh,
it's
no.
still happening.
Yeah.
I thought it was because she's streaming over Wi-Fi, but you know,
That's what I do. How do
yeah,
It
but she's in a new
depends on the
place.
Wi-Fi you have.
Yeah.
I... Oh.
The whatever it is, I'm sure she'll get it worked out. Stephanie's good at that.
She is
Um,
resourceful.
Yes, but you know, I guess there's not a whole lot for me to go on about here, so let's just get out of here. What do you say, guys?
Sounds good to me.
I'm mentally exhausted.
Come over to my place in 30 minutes. For real though.
Okay.
I'm gonna talk shit about some weirdos.
Well,
So it should be fun.
that's yeah, I'm always, and you know what? That's the other thing about this. As far as people pushing back and being all those other things, go for it. I think that there's people that enjoy that too. Like it doesn't have to. There's not one way to have these kind of conversations, is there? Like there's
No.
you know, we agree
On both
that,
sides, right? Like,
right? Yeah.
yeah.
So I'm not, and I'm always down for if anybody here or in the audience has input on how that I dealt with these things and wants to tell me, I welcome your criticism and your input. I like it. You know, it's not a bad thing. So don't, you know, I've had a couple people already message me and say, sorry, Joe, I wasn't trying to tell you this and that. No, you're fine. I just, you know, I have my opinion too. So that's all. All right. Have a good night. Go over to Nitty's in about 30 minutes, everybody.
I could bump it up too.
Thanks for
Why not?
oh, go over to Nitty's now.
Yeah, hold on. Let me get in my studio. Here's a
Okay.
link.
Yeah.
Can we put the link in there?
Right on.
A dinger dinger doo
If
doo.
you-
I'm getting there.
Just curious, Joe, you can forward everyone from this stream to Nitty's stream if you want. There's actually thing in
Yes, I can,
YouTube
but that
where
would
you
require
can.
me to go.
There you go. It's in private chat.
Once you got the stream up, Nitty, tell me and I'll do it on my phone.
Oh, there you go. All right. I'll hit the buttons here in a second. All right. I'll see you guys over there. Much love.
All right. Thanks, Nitty.
See you, Nitty. Okay. I'll hop off too, so you can do your famous last words. I'm sorry if things got heated, but yeah.
No. Yeah, you're fine. We addressed it and we move on. I'm not, we all have moments, and whatever. There's going to be things that people don't agree on, and this and that, and that's okay. That's why we have conversations and talk about things, right?
Yep. Exactly.
You probably couldn't hear me, could you?
At least for what I saw, I thought you did well. I will watch it from the start, and if there's anything concerning, I will message you about that. But as I said, from what I saw, I think you did a good job, especially considering the person you were talking to. So.
Well, thank you, Peter. And if you go back and watch it all, and there's things you want to point out to me or whatever, feel free to message me, you know, and let me know. I mean,
sure. I will.
I mean, like that kind of thing. All right.
If anything, we should be helping each other, not tearing people down for
no.
Even if you think they're doing something wrong, we should be able to talk about that.
If you disagree with me, I want to talk about it.
Yeah. But on the other hand, it's also that, and this is why I from the moment I started doing my own YouTube channel, I supported other people. I think we need different channels with different approaches, because we need to approach different people, and what the person who can get through to person A could be influenced by someone else with a different approach. So please keep doing what you do.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Okay. And I have forwarded everybody over to Nitty Stream, so you don't have to do a thing. Set tight and you'll be sent there. Thank you, everyone that came and watched the show, and I appreciate the conversation about it afterwards. That's more valuable to me than the actual talking with TJ, honestly. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great night. All right.